Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Honor the day that our Lord commands us to cease our toil.
Okay, we want to continue with our ministration in Israel, land, blessing, and salvation. We have to subtitle it because we want to look at Israel, what drives Israel, what help Israel to, do what they do. Why are they the first fruit? Why are they the firstborn? Why is it that Yahweh called them sons and daughters of His? Why are they peculiar? What makes them peculiar? Why are they first or the chosen priests of Yahweh? Why are they above and not below? Though now they are below because they offended, they sinned against Yahweh. The sin is rejecting His covenant commandment, and what He pronounced came against them. So they are brought low. But Israel is still Israel. Israel is not cleaned or written off or cancelled or taken away, because that is what Christianity suggests. They assume, Christianity assume that Israel is being removed and they replaced Israel. That is the thinking. It's the mindset in average Christian person. But that is not true. I circulated most of the books through your WhatsApp yesterday. I don't know how many of us that saw it. And part of that is about this replacement of Israel. In fact, that is the last write-up. Is Israel replaced? Did Christianity replace Israel? And at the end of it, the Bible clearly showed that even Christianity, it's by mercy, by grace of Yahweh. He brought them in, grafted them in. And those that were grafted in has assumed, themselves to be the originals, to be the firstborn, to be the first fruit, to be sons and daughters, far better, or substituting, replacing the children of Yahweh. That is not true. The Bible said that is not true. Apostle Paul said that is not true. The whole of the apostles never supported that writing. Peter himself destroyed that analogy or notion that such a thing exists. It has never and will never exist. Israel will not be destroyed or wiped out. That's what Yahweh says. 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 9. Peter, writing from Exodus 19, particularly verses 5 and 6, says that Israel is the firstborn, Israel is the first fruit, Israel is the chosen nation, Israel is the peculiar people, Israel is the priest of Yahweh, and all that. So, both Old Testament and the renewed covenant testament is affirming that Israel is still there up to tomorrow until Yahshua comes. Now, who are they and what makes them what they are? The subtitle will showcase that, and which is power and authority belong to Yahweh. Power and authority belong to Yahweh. Now, Yahweh is our Father. This is it. Yahweh is our Father. Now, if Yahweh is our Father, every child inherits, the possession of the Father. Every child is part and parcel of the Father. every child is subset of the father, or the large whole. Father is the very large hand holding Israel. In him, Israel resides. In him, Israel is born. So if Israel is the firstborn, Israel also will, gather the power, authority that the Father has. And that authority and power is given to Israel. Through that, Israel is what they are. And that's why they are above. And that's why they are in power. That's why they are in charge. And very soon, the whole world will begin to see that. Now, how do we go about this? We want to allow the scripture to show us, particularly showing us who is our Father, what he is doing in the life of Israel, how he has used his power to raise Israel. In many times Israel ran into problems. How he came with his power to deliver Israel, and how at the end he gave Israel this power, that Israel with this power will live in this world. Because without the power and authority, Israel will not live in this world. Israel will be destroyed by their enemies without this power. So the power is very, very vital, very, very important that Israel possess it. This power began from creation. This power we are talking about began from creation. And the power resides in Yahweh. Yahweh is his name. His title of, doing wonders is Elohim. And he shared his name with his son, Yahshua. So with the power in him...
The microphone is mute.
With the power in him and the power in... Hello, are you hearing?
I can't hear you.
Are you hearing now?
We can hear now.
Okay, that's good. All right. With the power in the Father and in the Son, the Word came to be. The Word came to be. We do have a song that says, all power belongs to Yahweh. 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 Where did we see this power emanating? Where is it that mankind began to see this power? Where did we begin to see this power envelop? And the men saw the handwork of the power all over them. If we go to Genesis chapter 1, the whole of chapter 1 and the whole of chapter 2 told us where this, song came about. And also it was revealed in the book of Revelation. So Genesis, the beginning of the books, and the last portion of the book of Bible, Revelation, told us where the power is coming from. And let's not forget this. Bible we have in our hands is detailed story, detailed history, detailed information about Israel. And this is where the whole power is placed, that through them this power will spread across the world. We saw that in Genesis chapter 12 when Abraham was called, that through thy seed the whole world will be blessed. So this power will spread from Israel then down to the whole world. The whole world hasn't gotten that power yet, because even Israel, they don't know where they are, let alone the power we are talking about. Now let us, move from one portion of the Bible to the other to see the source of this power in relation with Israel, in connection with Israel. And you see how this power was handed to Israel. Yahweh didn't hand the whole of his power to Israel. He gave Israel power. It's a gift. He gave Israel his power. Is a gift. So all the power resides in Yahweh forever and ever. But Israel, the son, has the power, or is given the power that he will use to live in this planet Earth and to rule it. Day one in creation in Genesis, the Bible said Yahweh created lights. Let there be light, and there was light. Then there was darkness. Two things going in day one: light, darkness. Day two, he created waters. Though the whole earth was covered with water, from the bottomless of the earth down to the heavens. You couldn't see the heaven where it was. Water covered everything. So water was touching from below down to the uppermost part of it. So Yahweh did a separation. Then the sky appeared, which he says heaven, and the waters. So the two, he created waters and the heavens or sky. Day three, by his outstretched arm and power, he spoke to the waters. The water moved one side, and we say there are seas, the waters. Then empty land came out, which is the earth. The land is called the earth. That is day three. Of those things I sent out yesterday, there is the book that talked about climate change. Do find time to read it. Find time. I mean, it's wonderful write-up about climate change, and you see, discussion about the land, the earth. You get understanding about it, what Yahweh had given to us. So Israel is in charge of the earth. Israel is in charge of the earth. It's given to them. They are in charge. Not the Gentile wars, not America, not Britain, not Russia, not African countries, not Australia. Israel is in charge. But where is Israel? You can't find them. They are coming. They are coming. And that is why we are talking about the power this morning. The power. That power will make it happen. That power will bring Israel in. But that power has begun to resurface. That power has begun to emanate. That power has begun to show itself. You, I, and all them, wherever we are scattered, gradually, they are coming up. Gradually. It's relatively invisible now, but in the eyes of Yahweh, they are already established. They are already established. That is day three. Day four, he made the sun, the big light up there in the heavens, the moon and the stars. That is day four. Day five, he made birds and fishes. All these things are what we know. He made them. They became source of food for man. Also, day six, he made animals, source of food for man. Finally, in that day six, he made mankind, humans, Adam and Eve. We talked about them yesterday in our history class. Now, after day 1, day 2 to day 6, he rested. He said, I have done what I can do for mankind to exist in this earth, rule over it, control it, and he, the Father, will take the glory continuously. So everything he did was handed to man. And he gave man the power, dominion. Said, I have given you dominion over everything I created, I made. To do what? To rule them, to control them, and to, take charge. Genesis chapter 1:26, and Elohim said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. He gave them power. He gave Adam and Eve power. Adam and Eve represents all mankind, the whole of humanity. And that's why when they sinned, when they failed, the whole human being failed. Hereditary genetics, all are embedded in the blood that runs through Adam and Eve, the children, the offspring, the seeds, they carry them. And they are all with them till today. And that's why when you talk about original sin is sin of disobedience. Sin of disobedience. When we would tell people to get rid of sin of disobedience, disobedience is rejection, saying no to the word of Yahweh, to the commandments of Yahweh. That is original sin. It was committed by Adam and Eve in Genesis chapter 3. We reference Genesis chapter 2, 16, 17, where Yahweh says, any day you reject or rebel or disobey my word to eat of the fruits of good, the knowledge of good and evil, you will die, you will go. So man disobeyed him. So what man has been suffering is disobedience. That is original sin. Now Yahweh created everything, handed everything to man, and man took charge. Somewhere along the line, Yahweh says, I will not continue work. I have finished what I have to do with, or for man, man take over. Then Yahweh said, the seventh day, I will relax myself, I will rest, I will stop work, cessation of work. And he called it Sabbath, or Shabbat in Hebrew, Shabbat. Now, if you look at all the days he created, only the seventh day he gave a name. Because people do ask, when do you say Sabbath is? The Sabbath can be the first day, second day, third day. Choose anyone you like. I mean, you have a choice. You are a human being. You can choose any day you worship him. That's not what the scripture said. That is Satan speaking in such voices you hear. That's Satan speaking. You must obey Yahweh. That is only how you get your power, authority over creation. You cannot have dominion over creation when you live in disobedience. Otherwise, nothing works for you. So when people, hear that voice from Satan speak to them, any day is a choice day to worship Yahweh. Every day you worship him quite all right, but there is one day. Why? One day. Why is that one day important? The Bible is full of the reason why that one chosen day is important for Yahweh. The Bible is clear about it. But you have to enumerate a little of that, of those Bible portions. Now, I've said that Shabbat is cessation of work or stoppage of work. A day Yahweh rested. Now, moving forward, if you look at Israel at a particular point in time, we leave the land of Canaan where the forefather Abraham was brought in to take over. Said, your offspring, Israel, will go into another land, the land that is not their own. He didn't tell us the name. He didn't say Egypt. He knew he may mention Egypt. And he knew he may mention other lands later. But he didn't tell us. He was silent on that. We are going to look at that, why that is so. Now, Israel went into other lands and they are held captive. Israel have been going into other nations, held captive. Now, by his outstretched arm, he brought them out. And Paul wrote in Hebrews chapter 4 about this matter, Sabbath or Shabbat. He wrote in Hebrews, warning us not to mess up with this seventh day. Not. Because that anybody that tramples upon seventh day will be undoing himself. Will be destroying himself. Hebrews chapter 4. Verse 1, let us therefore fear lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. Be careful. Fear. If they tell you day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, you have a choice to pick any day of rest. You better begin to ask, what did Yahweh say? Yahweh said, the seventh day rest, not any day. And Apostle Paul is warning, be careful lest you fall a victim of circumstance of picking or having your own choice. Because it is the rest. That is the rest. That is freedom. That is owning yourself. That is putting yourself into the land. That is where you get to get your freedom. If you have your own enclave, your own land, your own portion, your own place, nobody will harass you. Nobody will check you out. Nobody will be pushing you up and down. Yahweh says, my people are still outside. Whether Egypt or the second Egypt, which is the Gentile wars where they are scattered today, they haven't returned. And you are warned, be careful so that you don't miss it. You don't come short of returning into the land. Because if you listen to man, listen to false pastors, false prophets, false teachers, you will end up with the Gentiles. You will not make it into the land. And who knows whether the person's life will be saved, because the person will be crushed. Because all Israelites will be remembered where they are, and the wicked will be crushed. Then the good seeds will be taken to the land. The Bible is written for Israel. It's the history of Israel. Though some portions talk about the Gentile world. It's how they will be brought in at the end of the day. How they will be disciplined that it talked about. But mainly, Israel as a nation, Israel as a people, Israel as owning the land. The seed, the very seed, and how the seed is going to get the land is what the Bible described for us. Talking about Hebrews 4, verse 4 says, for he spoke in a certain place of a seventh day, on this wise, and Elohim did rest the seventh day from all his works. That is Genesis chapter 2, verse 1. Genesis chapter 2, verse 2. Apostle Paul was not writing from his head. You see how the New Testament is all about the Old Testament. They are writing from Old Testament. If you don't know the Old Testament, forget it. He is referring and quoting that you must not play and toil with Genesis chapter 2, verse 1 and 2, where Yahweh says he rested. And he blessed that day, and he sanctified it. He set it apart, sanctified, holy. He made it a holy day. He rested. So, moving forward in verse 8, Paul said, Hebrews chapter 4, verse 8, for if Joshua had given them rest, then would he not afterward have spoken of another day? Numbers 13, verse 16. Another day. What is another day? Joshua could not give them, though it wasn't fault of Joshua, because Israelites retired very early. They began to sin. They began to go against the word of Yahweh. Disobedience raged. So they were not able to conquer the land. They were not able to defeat the Gentile world to possess the land. So what happened? Yahweh drove them away from the land. So they didn't stay there and possess it and have the rest Yahweh said they will have. Because if they had stayed there, conquered that land, stayed there, they would have possessed the land. They would have had the rest. No one would have been encroaching on them. No one would have been driving them up and down. They wouldn't have, no enemy would have entered into their land. Because Yahweh and Yahweh alone is the covering of his people. So nobody dare toy with them while Yahweh is with them. So Israel is outside. They never had that rest. The writer here says that rest is still ongoing because Israel never possessed it. Where do you find that rest? You have to queue on the Shabbat. That seventh day. Queue in it. That is the roll call. That is where the roll call begins. That is where you'll be listed. That is where you'll be, found. Because when he opens the book, if your name is among the rebellion, first and foremost will be checked from those who are obeying this particular commandment. There are other commandments, first commandment, second commandment, third commandment. In fact, the fourth commandment is the summary of love of Yahweh. Love of Yahweh is showcased in you, praising him, worshiping him, and adoring him. We are going to see that a little while. Then, verse 9 says, there remaineth therefore a rest to the people of Elohim. There remaineth a rest. Verse 10 says, for he that is entered into his rest, he also has ceased from his own works, as Elohim did from his works. Now, have you entered into that rest? It says, another day remains. That seventh day. That is what Israelites are about to enter. At the time Yahshua is coming to bring his people back, he is going to take them into that land, and that will be on the seventh day. They will assume they will begin their rest in earnest. They will begin that rest they never had. It's Yahshua that is going to give it to them. Joshua couldn't give it to them. Moses couldn't give it to them. So it's who? Yahshua that is coming to give it to them. And they will enter into that land. They will have their rest. You must queue in, or else you will miss it. You will miss it if you do not hearken. So do not harden your heart on this call to queue into Sabbath worship. Do not. Any day you hear about this message, the Bible said, do not harden your heart. Where did he say that? I think he mentioned that somewhere, verse 7. Let's look at it. Again, he limited a certain day, the same Sabbath day he's talking about, saying in David, today, after so long a time, as it is said, today, if ye will hear his voice, harden not your hearts. Psalm 95 verse 7 echo this. Harden not your heart. Do not harden your heart for this important message of queuing into Sabbath. Don't play with it, don't mess it or don't pollute it. Yahshua said, prepare yourself, because he is the one that is going to take you into the 7th day, the millennium. Millennium is hinged on Sabbath. Sabbath is the millennium. Millennium is the Sabbath. If you are not observing it, the Sabbath is self-proper. If you are not observing it, forget it. You'll not be part of the millennial reign. That is it. The choice is those who observe the Sabbath. You must be part of it. Now, why the Sabbath? Why is it so important? Number one, it is a sign between you and Yahweh. It's a sign between you and Yahweh. Sign for what? What does that sign mean? Exodus chapter 31, 13 to 17, he said, you must keep the Sabbath, because this is a sign that you will know that Yahweh Elohim is your creator, is your Elohim, he is your father, and that you belong to him. You belong to him. So the sign to know whom you worship is Sabbath. If you key into the Sabbath, you do what? You belong to Yahweh. Anybody that sees you, because there is this other competitor who says that is the creator. So Yahweh is saying, I am the creator. Creator of what? Heaven and earth. All that we say, we saw here, day 1, day 2, day 3, day, up to day 7, the resting day. Someone will come out and say, he is the God of this earth. Remember, 1 Corinthians chapter, 2 Corinthians rather, chapter 4, did tell us who this one is. Who is the one that is competing with Yahweh. He is competing with Yahweh. And that's why Yahweh made that commandment in Exodus chapter 20. I said, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy for him. The one that is competing, Moses pointed, Apostle Paul pointed him out. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 4. I read from verse 3. Let me take it from verse 3. But if our good news be hid, it is hid to them that are lost or perishing, in whom the mighty one of this world, mighty one there is the God of this world, the mighty one of this world has blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious good news of Messiah, who is the image of Elohim, should shine unto them. It's only a blind man. It's only a deaf person. It's only one whose heart is seared, plays or toils with Yahweh's commandments, particularly this Sabbath commandment. Only one whose eyes is completely removed. The Bible said they have been swept away by the God of this world. He has made them to believe a lie, has made them to believe that he is the God, as God of this world, that's the one that created heaven and earth. He is in charge. And as a result of being seared, being blinded, the gospel, the message from Genesis to Revelation, given to mankind, the good news of the kingdom being preached today, where every believer will have rest, is denied. They are denied of this truth because they didn't believe. They followed another, the competitor. Avoid the competitor. The competitor will tell you, the adversary will tell you that the kingdom belongs to him. The earth belongs to him. He is the creator of heaven and earth. But is it true? Isaiah said no. That was what he tried to do in heaven. Isaiah 14 exposed him. Ezekiel 28 exposed him. And he was cast down. Revelation chapter 12 told us he was cast down because of his behavior. He wanted to unseat Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth. He has always tried to covet, possess, take what does not belong to him. And he will deceive mankind, tell mankind all manner of lies. He began with Adam and Eve in Genesis chapter 3. That is called deception, making you to believe a lie, making you to stumble on the commandments, on the law of Yahweh. If you listen to him, you will fall. So the first reason is that Sabbath is a sign between you and Yahweh. You are his chosen. You are his son. You are his daughter. You are a peculiar person. So when you do that, anybody that sees you worshiping on this particular day, the person will know that you belong to Yahweh. That is the making. That is the setting. Another important point therein is that Yahweh created heaven, created the earth, as we said, the light, darkness, waters, sky, seas, the land, that is the earth, sun, moon, stars, birds, fishes, animals, and mankind. He is the one that created them. That is the reason you have to obey and keep Sabbath. So that when you are worshiping on the Sabbath, these are the things you remember. He is the creator. And that's why he called you to keep it. So that you continue to remember and to praise him and to worship him. It's like Yahshua that says, keep the Passover. Why do you keep this Passover and unleavened bread? Because he is the creator. He is the one that renewed the covenant that we broke. By his suffering, by his blood, he shedded his blood at the tree. And through that, he redeemed us from death, from sin of death, sin of iniquity. He redeemed us. So you have to continue to keep the Passover as a way of reminding yourself of what he went through, what he suffered for you, and how he was resurrected by the Father, and he gave you a gift, the Holy Spirit, to do what? To continue to obey. Obey the Father, obey his word, obey his commandments. So just look at it as you keep the Passover, so you will also keep the Sabbath. The same way for remembering. And that's why he said that you must remember. Exodus chapter 20. It's not something you forget. You don't forget it. Exodus chapter 20, we read from verse 8, and he said, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days thou shalt labor, and all the rest that are there. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahweh. Sabbath of Yahweh is not your own day. It is his own day. You must keep it. Now, these are some of the few reasons we can share. There are so many reasons why you must keep Sabbath. Those who keep Sabbath are numbered as faithful. They are numbered as the chosen. They are numbered as those who Yahweh has called to himself. And particularly, they are numbered as those who will inherit the earth. Let's prove it. Psalm chapter. David knew about what you are talking more than any man that has ever lived on earth. David knew this truth more than any man that has ever come into this world. Psalm 115, David wrote. 115 verse 16. David said, the heaven, even the heavens, are Yahweh's. So Yahweh is the maker. That's what we've been talking since. But the earth has he given to the children of men. Children of men. And if you trace this saying, if you trace this statement, it goes back to Israel. Because by the time you now count or begin to talk about children of men, you start from Israel. It is the Jews first. It is the Israelites first. Then before the Gentiles. Before the Greeks. Before the Gentiles. Before the others. Jews first. So everything begins with Israelites. Now, it's a place given to us to inherit forever, permanently, the earth. Now, people talk about jetting to heaven and all that. Forget it. Because while they are still carrying blood and flesh, they cannot make it.
Pastor, which verse did you read?
I read Psalm 115, verse 16.
Okay.
And if you look at Psalm chapter 37, Psalm chapter 37, David also made mention of that again. Psalm 37 verse 9, for evildoers shall be cut off, yes, but those that wait upon Yahweh, they shall inherit the earth. They shall inherit the earth. He went on. 29, verse 29, Psalm chapter 37, 29. The righteous shall inherit the land, that is the land of Israel, and dwell therein forever. From Israel, they will possess the entire universe, entire world, the entire earth. But they begin from Israel. The time is coming. Verse 34, Psalm 37, 34. Wait on Yahweh and keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it. Amen. That is the setting. You will inherit the land. Labor for it. Work for it. It's not given on a platter of gold. No. You have to labor for it. You have to work for it. Because he says you'll be rewarded based on your work. The good work of Yahweh that he gave to you. What is the good work of Yahweh? Clearly the commandments. Keep them. Obey them. Including Sabbath. In fact, as you are resting today is rest. Do you know it is part of the work you are doing? The good work of Yahweh. It's a day of rest. Yeah, we are not doing anything. We are not working. But you are doing his good work. Obedience is the good work. Obedience to his word. Every of his work, do it. It is work. The whole duty of man is to do what? To fear Yahweh and to obey his commandments. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Verse 13. That is the whole duty of man. Enter into the duty of man. Obedience to his commandments. And you will see how blessings of Yahweh will be yours and yours forever. Will be yours and yours forever. Revelation. Let me just give you another assurance there. Oh, the word of Yahweh is giving us assurance. In Revelation chapter 5, he told us who owns the earth. Yahweh is the owner, but he handed us to his children. Who are his children? The obedient people, those who are obeying. And has made us unto our Elohim kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. We shall reign. Israelites, you shall reign on the earth. Now he is not done yet. Revelation chapter 20. Revelation chapter 20. I'll take it from verse 5 to 6. But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that has part in the first resurrection. On such the second death has no power. But they shall be priests of Elohim. They shall be priests of Elohim and of Messiah, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. That is the beginning. The Sabbath, we mentioned that, the millennium. The beginning of the seventh day is the Sabbath. A day is, in his eyes, 1,000 years. So that, last day, which is the seventh day, you cue into it. As you are cueing into Sabbath today, continue with that faithfully. He will take you into that millennial rest. 1,000 years. You will be there. You will reign with him as a priest, as a king, as a ruler of Gentile world. That is why he called you the first fruits. All the first fruits are going to be used by Yahshua. You are relevant. You must do one work or the other for him. Moving forward. Power to rule the earth is given to Israel. Power to rule the earth is given to Israel. Now we ask, who is Israel? We have defined Israel many times in our, messages, in writings, in the books that are out there in the website. Israel has been defined. But just to reiterate here, Israel is the promised seed. Exodus, let's return to Exodus. Old Testament is very important. And New Testament, but Old Testament gives us the clarity of what you need to know. Whom you are, of whom you are must come from the Old Testament. Otherwise, New Testament, those who queue in New Testament, they say they are flying to heaven. They are the Gentile Christians. They don't know much about who they are. They don't know they are Israelites. If they believe and follow, they'll be grafted in as Israelites. Exodus 4:22. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus say Yahweh, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. The same thing is repeated in Jeremiah 31 verse 9. Israel is my son. Israel is also my firstborn, my son. Yahweh is proud of Israel. I'm telling you, very proud of Israel. Exodus chapter 19 verse 5. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. He is the owner of the earth. Then he gave it to his son, his firstborn, his first fruit, to take care of it. Right from Adam, Israel has been known by Yahweh, has been named by Yahweh. Before the foundation of the earth was laid, Israel has been named and known and called Israel by Yahweh. And that's why he said, Jacob, take your original name, Israel. And he took it. That's the name up to tomorrow. The seed is established in Yahshua. Now he's coming. The seed is established in Yahshua. Israel is the promised seed. But this seed is established in Yahshua. Yahshua is that vine, the olive tree, whose branches the nation of Israel is found. Can we prove that? John chapter 15. John chapter 15. You see how we are crisscrossing from Old Testament to New Testament? Because New Testament refines the Old Testament in a way that, in a clear way, in a clear format that you can understand, so that there will be no ambiguity. When Yahshua returned, he will say, I didn't know. I didn't know. Why would you say you didn't know? Because Yahshua came to clarify the Old Testament for you. That is what the New Testament is all about. Chapter 15, 1 to 2. That is John. Sorry, I went into Luke. John chapter 15, 1 to 2. Just listen very, very carefully. I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. And every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. He, Yahshua, is the what? Is the true vine. The true vine. Vine is the olive tree Apostle Paul wrote about. What Apostle Paul was talking was what John reflected here. If you go down through this chapter 15, you will see how wonderful this olive tree is, the vine. The Father is the husbandman, the owner of the garden. The husbandman, the farmer himself, the gardener himself, the owner himself is the Father. Then all that are inside the vine, the trees, is depicted as olive tree. The tree. Israel is called the tree, the olive tree. And that is given to Yahshua. Yahshua is the very, very tree, the very, very vine. Now in him are the branches of this vine, of this tree. Every part of it, every part of the tree is the branches, Israel. Now, Israel is in Yahshua. Yahshua is in the husbandman, the father. That is the relationship, that family. So the good branches in the vine, he does what? He prunes it. He prunes it. He makes them good. He makes sure that they bear even more fruits. He waters them. He takes care of them. What does he do with the bad ones? The branches that are not good. Verse 2 there, let's repeat it. It says, every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. These are the bad ones. And every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. So even the good fruit, we talked about this in the night, when we are doing our studies, that he purges even the good fruit, purge them, cleanse them, so that they will be, shining, brilliant, as natural as he wants them to be. And even from there, he will cause them to go through transformation, spiritual being, spiritual fruits. And that is the process we are going through now. The process that will end up in being purged to be spiritual Israelites. That is the goal of the Father. Now, the bad ones will go. They will be cast away. They will not be there again. They will not be useful. Because they will cause trouble if he continues to allow them. And that's why he's coming back to purge or to remove all the removables. Let us listen to Apostle Paul. I love listening to Apostle Paul when it comes to this area of understanding, because many people, particularly in the Christendom, have believed wrong thing. And that's why the book is Christianity, a replacement of Covenant Israel. That's why that book was written. I finished it about 2 days ago, and I gave it to you. We don't read. I'm afraid. I'm afraid we don't read. We don't read all these things. You have to spend time read the word. You have to spend time for the Holy Spirit to educate you. If you don't read, you can't. If you don't draw yourself reading, he can't teach you. He can't show you anything. Romans 11 verse 16. Just listen to what Apostle Paul wrote. Those who are Christians or who are thinking, oh, we are Christians, we've arrived. Oh, our kingdom is not here, it's heaven. You are a liar. You are a great liar. Because all we are saying here, both David, all the prophets, they are saying, you are giving the earth as inheritance. Well, it's the righteous, because those who say they are going to heaven, you haven't obeyed, let alone going to heaven. You should obey. Obedience will decide where you are going, whether you land in Israel or you get somewhere better. Verse 16. Romans 11:16. For if the first fruit, Israel, be holy. Israel is the holy fruit too. The lump. Call him the first fruit, call him the lump, is also holy. And if the fruit be holy, so are the branches. So, the root, the vine, the olive tree, he is holy. So Israel is holy. Israel is the branches. He is holy. Verse 17. And if some of the branches be broken off, that is those that are bad, the bad ones, the bad branches, they will go. And thou, being a wild olive tree, who art thou? The wild olive tree. Now we hear them today, the Gentile churches. They say they have arrived. They have taken away the olive tree. They've taken away the vine. They are the one that has replaced Israel. Therefore, Israel is no longer anywhere to be found. Who said? That book teaches what the truth is. Were grafted in this wild olive tree, that they were grafted in among them, and with them partakes of the fruit and fatness of the olive tree. So it says, you wild olive tree, you are only just merely grafted in. You are just brought in. By mercy of Yahweh, you are brought in. Into where? The olive tree. Israel. Yahshua being the head. You are grafted into him. Into the branches. Because some of the branches were broken off. They fell off. Because of their sin. Because of their unbelief. They were cut off. Any branch of his that does not bear fruit, he cut off. He cast away. And he pruned those that are bearing fruit, so that they will bear more fruits. So by faith, Gentile nations or Gentile people, whatever religion they have, they should drop their religion and come to Yahweh. Yahweh is not religion. Yahweh is not a way of looking for religion or finding religion or sitting religion or indoctrinating or doing whatever. No. Anything religion is out of the way. Come to Yahweh, the covenant way. That is him. He is not religion. So come to his covenant way, which is what Israel is founded upon. They are founded upon keeping the covenant. So when they come in there, they'll be grafted in, and they will be doing what Israelites are doing, obeying the covenant, fear Yahweh and keep his covenant commandments. That is the whole duty of man. In Israel, there is no two laws. There's no law for Israel and law for the Gentiles or those that are grafted in. It's one law. You must come in, you must obey. If you said you are a Gentile, you come in, then you won't obey the covenant commandment. You won't keep the Sabbath. You won't call his name, because Israel called their name, the name of the Father. They call him. He said, my people shall know my name. They shall call me by my name. They shall praise me by my name. They shall worship me by my name. They shall pray in my name. If you come, you are calling another name, you have a different commandment. And that means you doesn't belong. Because it's only one commandment, one law that rules and governs Israel. You must queue to that tree. There's no other tree. So you're a branch. If you come in as a Gentile, you have to be queued or grafted in. That is the way it goes. So Apostle Paul warned them. You that says you want to replace or you are replacing Israel, be careful. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. The root bears you. The root is holding you. The root is Yahshua, the olive tree, the vine upon which you are grafted. If you come in and you say, you are your own, you have your own commandment, you are in trouble. You will get it hot. So do not boast. Do not say you have replaced Israel, because Israel absorbed you. Israel, grafted you. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Romans 11, verse 20. Well, because of unbelief, this is why they have opportunity. Because of unbelief, some of these Israelites were cast away. That's what we read in John chapter 15 there. Any branch that does not producing, that is not bearing fruit, will be cast away. So, because of unbelief, he took them away. On. You read verse 25 there says that the time of the Gentiles is coming, until the fullness of Gentiles be come in. If Gentiles are not hastening up now to be grafted in, very soon their own time will be stopped. The Israelites that are dormant will be revived. And he's reviving Israelites now. He is reviving. I and you, we are being revived. So Now, Yahweh knows when the cutoff will be. When he caught the Israelites, I mean the Gentiles coming in, when he, you know, block that something, that passage, all Israelites will be brought in. The believing Israelites, they'll be brought in. And he will prune them. He will make sure that they take to the covenant commandment way. So their disobedience will be removed. And he will cloak them. He will cover them with spirit of obedience. And that's what Ezekiel 36 said. He will sprinkle them with clean water. He will give them a new heart and a new spirit. He will remove the heart of stone in them. And he will give them. And now is the time. He begins it immediately. You receive him. You get baptized in the name of Yahshua. Now he gives you that spirit that will begin to purge you, begin to cleanse you, begin to prepare you for the final sprinkling of the clean water. Because at that stage, you will be given a new body. You will never and never in your life sin again. And that will be face to face with him when he appears. So are you getting ready for that? That is the setting for Israel. That is the power all those that have, you know, held to him. The authority also they have. Obedience. For you to acquire the power, you need to fight for obedience. You don't need to labor, you don't need to sweat. All you need to do is to be submissive. All you need to do is to give in. All you need to do is to surrender to him. All you need to do is to say, take over my life, rule my life, I submit my life, I bow to you. You baptize in his name. Then the fruits of the Spirit take over. Because why people do not obey and why they see commandments as a thing of something that they cannot do, something that is undoable, is because they doesn't have the Spirit yet. The Spirit is meant to help you. The Spirit is meant to grant you the power to obey. That is why the Holy Spirit is given to us. That is what the Holy Spirit, the fruit therein, is working in our lives. Now, looking at Israel, going back to book of Genesis, from where they were called, there was encounter between Yahweh and Abraham. That your children will go to foreign land. No, he didn't call it Israel. I mean, he didn't call it Egypt. He said they will depart from the land of Canaan, because Abraham was called into the land. And he said, in time to come, your children will depart from this Canaan and go into a foreign land. And there, those whom they reside in their land will hold them hostage, will enslave them, they will serve them, they will be their slaves, and those people will afflict them for 400 years. Let's take it from Genesis chapter 15. And he said unto Abraham, by that time the name of Abraham hasn't been changed from Abram to Abraham. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. He didn't specify whether it's Egypt or Gentile world of today. And shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. So by Exodus chapter 12 verse 4 and Acts of Apostles 7 verse 6, we know the first port of call of these children of Israel was Egypt. And also, that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, and thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation, they shall come, that is, Israel shall come hither, that is, in this land again. For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. As he said to the Gentiles, their own time will get full when they will be cut off. The same, the Amorites in the land of Israelites' inheritance, because that land is given to Israel already by Yahweh, until their sins are filled. Then Israel, he will make a way for Israel to come back and reside there. Now, things began to unfold. Israel, after days, Abraham died, Isaac came, Isaac brought in Jacob, Esau. Esau was cast off because he wasn't good seed, he wasn't good branch. Now, Jacob was renamed. The seeds of Jacob went to land of Egypt. Well, one thing or the other will happen. The work or the pronouncement or the prophecy of Yahweh will be fulfilled. We say there was famine in the land, and all that as a result they had to go. Yahweh had pronounced they will go, because the Amorites were sinners. Their sins were building up. Their cup hasn't filled. So when their cup is filled, he will bring back Israel into that land. So they went. The place was Egypt. They went, and before you knew it, Joseph, that was the masterminder of their going there, died. And all the people that, the rulers of that time, knew, all of them passed on. Then a ruler that never knew Israelites came on board, and they said, look, the way Israelites are reproducing, one day they are going to make alliance with other nations, and they are going to overthrow them and take the land and rule them. So let us enslave them. What Yahweh said came to pass, that they will be strangers in the land, and they will serve them, and they will afflict them. That is slavery. That was pronounced. Now, this particular passage in Genesis chapter 15, verse 13, 14, 16, up to 18, is what is called typology. Typology, that is a prophecy that has to, or that is capable of reinventing itself or repeating itself. So Israelites, until Yahweh brings them to that rest, which Hebrews chapter 4 talked about, which John talked about the good branches or trees, the fruits, until they are completely pruned, cleansed, purged, they will not themselves enter that land. They will be walkabout. They will be going here and there. They will be on the move until both the land and they themselves are purified. So someday, before Israel will come in, Yahweh will purify the land. He's beginning to purify his people now, calling us, bringing us to knowledge, bringing us to understanding, bringing us to this truth. Time is coming when he will sprinkle clean water. Then he will bring all his people into that land. By that time the land will be cleansed, and all Israelites also will be cleansed. So the land which is a holy land, Israel is a holy land. The people are holy people. That's why he says, Israel, you are a holy nation, a holy people. So holy, holy, the land holy, that is the land and the seed. Israelites are the seed. They will be holy. All of them, they will, the people of Yahweh will dwell there. So Yahweh is working out something. This is strategic. He's working out something that will soon, be obvious in the eyes of everybody. So Israelites were in Egypt enslaved by their host. They returned by the power of Yahweh. The first time they came back, under the authority of Yahweh, under the might of Yahweh. Where do we derive that? Yahweh told us in Exodus chapter 3. In Exodus chapter 3, he said to Moses, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring these people back into the land. Exodus chapter 3. I read from verse 7. And Yahweh said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people. He told Abraham the people were going to be afflicted. And that prophecy is being fulfilled. He is coming to save them from that affliction, because he told Abraham, I'm going to bring them back from the affliction, from the host nation where they will live as strangers. So where was that? I have seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, slave masters. For I know their sorrows. Wherever you are, a covenant-keeping son or daughter of Yahweh, he knows your sorrows. He knows your outcry. He knows what you are going through. And he said, endure. Whatever you are going through. Don't worry. Persecution, affliction, trouble, whatever. Continue to endure. And continue to pray for. He will be making allowance for you until he delivers you. That will not swallow you up. That will not consume you. Affliction, trouble, oh, they will not swallow you. Don't think they will swallow you. Even if the person dies in his hands, not in the hands of the affliction or in the hands of the persecutor, or in the hands, even if the persecutor throws arrows, it is in his hands you are. Amen. And I am come down to deliver them. Deliver who? Israelites who were in Egypt, out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of the land unto a good land, and a large, and unto a land flowing with milk and honey, and unto the place of the Canaanites, the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. These sites are the people who are wicked. The wicked people, wicked nations. People who abhor Yahweh and his commandments. Preach to them from morning till night. You're wasting time. You can't convert them. If you go and marry their daughter, that's why Yahshua said, do not marry these strangers, these wicked people. Do not marry their daughter. Do not marry, allow your sons to take their daughters. Do not allow, don't go to them. Otherwise, they will pollute you. They will make you not to worship Yahweh. They will stop you. And most of us in recent times, they say, don't worry, when they come in, when you bring their daughters, you convert them. Don't neglect the word of Yahweh. Don't assume. Don't predict. Don't reassure yourself. Because the word of Yahweh comes to pass. It will surely come to pass. Now, this is the power. Moses had to ask Yahweh, how do I go about this? What do I tell my people? And let's look at the conversation from 10. Okay, let us take it from 9. And therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them. Israelites are now, they have come out from Egypt quite a long time ago. They couldn't remain in the land of Israel because they disobeyed. Yahweh scattered them. Now they are in Gentile land for 2,750 years plus. Israel, the 10th tribe or 9th tribe, had remained in foreign land. The second Egypt, in the Gentile world. They are being persecuted up to today. And they are beginning to cry. If you listen through parts of Africa, they are crying. If you listen through parts of Europe, they are crying. If you listen through part of Americans, they are crying. I and you, we are witness of what is happening in America in this recent time. And those guys are promising to change their laws. Laws establishing police and so on, the security agencies. Yahweh says, my people will cry. Yahshua says, when you cry, blessed is he that cometh in the name of Yahweh. Then he will listen. He will come back to them. And that cry is, rising. But it's not, it hasn't gotten to the peak. It will get to the time it will get to the peak. Are you praying to be there when it will get to the peak? I say, pray hard. If we get there, we should pray hard. It will take the grace of Yahweh for one to live at that time. Cry is just beginning. Cry is just beginning. Did you hear what Yahweh say here? Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have sinned. I've also seen the oppression. You see? Why is Israel crying? Today, why are we crying? Oppression of the taskmasters. Oppression of the slave masters. Oppression of those who are heading us. They are tail, but somehow the pyramid capsized. The tail become head, and we become the tail. And that's why we are crying. If we had stayed as head, we wouldn't cry. Nobody will encroach into the land of Israel to molest us. We will be teaching them. We will be telling them how to live a glorious life, a righteous life, life of Yahweh. But we couldn't stand. We couldn't maintain holiness. We couldn't maintain the commandments of Yahweh, which brings holiness. We couldn't. Verse 10. Come now, therefore, and I will send thee. Yahweh was talking to Moses. I will send you to who? To Pharaoh, the captain of the slave masters, the commander-in-chief of the slave masters, the one that is ruling the slaves, the Israelites. At the moment, they are in control. Israel in the first Egypt, Israel in the second Egypt. That is the typology. Israel is now in their second Egypt. Since 2,000 years, 2,700 plus years ago, they have been in this captivity, and they are still in it. And they are not yet crying as it were. They are beginning, but it's not effective yet. So, the first Egypt, Yahweh called Moses. When the people cried, their cry reached to the peak. Yahweh said, I've heard. Now they are serious. I want to come and remove them. Verse 11. And Moses said unto Elohim, who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? And he said, certainly I will be with thee. Yahweh is always with us. How is he with us? By his power, by his authority, by his commanding and control name. You will get to see that. And he said, certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee, that I have sent thee. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, ye shall serve Elohim upon this mountain. Mount Sinai was where he took Moses and told Moses, go to Pharaoh and liberate Israel. Then you will come back. That will be the sign. Was it not where the commandment was given to him? That is the sign. That was where the commandment was given. Few days ago, we celebrated the Shavuot, the Pentecost. That was the celebration. That sign. That was where it was given. And the renewal came on the day of Pentecost. When his spirit came back into this earth, that was the renewal. And taking us, quickening us, entering into our heart and our spirit to come back to obedience. The spirit is ushered to us or given to us so that we come back, we return back. We have that, zeal. We have that fruit inside us, because it's the spirit that gives that fruit, so that we come back to him. But people are still shaking their head and saying, no, it's not so. They have their own mindset. Verse 13, and Moses said unto Elohim, because Moses knew to deal with Pharaoh, you need power. To deal with even his brothers, Israel, to make them believe, they need power. You need that power to go and showcase the work. And Moses said unto Elohim, behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, Elohim of your fathers has sent me unto you. And they shall say unto me, what is his name? This is where we are going. What is his name? Did he say his name is Jehovah? Did he say his name is the Lord? Did he say his name is God? No, he said, I will not share my glory. I will not share my name. His name is glory. He will not share that his glory with another man. Idol, images, carved or molded or engraved. He will not share. And that came in the place of the second commandment. Even the third commandment, his name. So do not toy with his name. Do not take his name in vain. So when Moses pressed for his name, the power, the authority, his name is power, his name is authority. His name is the commanding power that Moses needed. Because Yahweh did not walk foot to foot with Moses. Yahweh said, go, but you go with my name. Verse 14. And Elohim said unto Moses, I am that I am. I'm still what I am. You can't define I am that I am. No. Moses had just a little aspect of I am, and that came in his name. Whom we serve is mighty. Whom we serve is powerful. Whom we serve is a consuming fire. Whom we serve is the most excellency. You can't know him all. Little of him. Say, go with that. That will be the source of your deliverance. I am that I am, he said. Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am has sent me unto thee, unto you. I am. I am is all and all. I am is a phrase translated in various forms. In fact, you can't even define I am. It's eternal. It's supreme. The majesty. The one that reigns endlessly from beginning of times to no end of time. It's not made. It's not created. How will you define I am? But just take it within our knowledge that I am is eternal. The one that lives eternal, eternal Savior, eternal salvation. Now listen to what he told Moses. I am has sent me unto you. And Elohim said moreover unto Moses. I wasn't enough because Moses couldn't comprehend it. Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, Yahweh. Did you get that? Yahweh is his name. That is a portion of the I am, which Moses has to understand. Eternal salvation. Why? He took that out and gave Moses, because that is the aspect of him that will do the work against Pharaoh and Egypt. Deliverance, salvation. That is what the Israelites needed. That's what they wanted, and that's what will bring them out. So he said to Moses, said to them, Yahweh Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, the Elohim of Jacob. Why did he mention Abraham, Isaac, Jacob? Reminding Moses, because Moses wouldn't have understood where Yahweh is coming from. Who called Israel? When you mention Israel, the first thing that will ring in your head is Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. That is what will come into your mind. Then having mentioned that, Moses immediately understood. Moses now knew he's in the right hand. Moses was a learned man. He read the history of Israel. He read the history of also Egypt. He understood the power that was talking at that time. He said, yeah, this is him. He's come indeed. The promise made by to our forefathers is being fulfilled. through me. That's why Moses was shaking. How will it be me? I'm not qualified. Because he knew the power that has called him. So he said to him, and the Elohim of Jacob has sent me unto you. This is my name. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. The name, Yahweh, is his name forever and ever. And that name should be a memorial, something that will be in your heart, in your mind. You remember it day in, day out. It's not that something you expunge. It's not something that you say, let me lay it aside and take another name. It will suffice. No, it will not. He said it's a memorial unto you forever and ever, from generation to generation. Those who say, I can go with any name suffices, any name, it doesn't matter. Name doesn't mean anything. Just call him. He understands. As soon as I open my mouth, he knows I'm the first fruit, I'm the seed. If you are the first fruit, if you are the seed, if you are the called, and you don't keep to his commandment, you don't keep to his instruction, you don't keep to his word, then you are in trouble. Even Israelites, that's why so many of them were broken off. They were cut off. At the end of the day, they will not enter the kingdom. And the space was created. Gentiles were grafted in. And now Gentiles are boasting. We have arrived. We have replaced Israel. He said, don't boast. So Moses went with this name. In this name, power of salvation, power of restoration, power of deliverance is stored in this name. And that's why we talk about the name of Yahweh as power, as authority. In the name of Yahshua, every knee must bow. It's the commanding name. Yahshua comes from the name Yahweh. Yah, the family name. Yah, Yahshua, the son in these latter days. Whereas Yahweh was the name that helped them to come out from Egypt during the first Exodus. In the oncoming second Exodus, Israelites scattered all over the world, being prepared now for this second Exodus, are going to come out from the name Yahshua. He has come before to do what? To deal with issue of sin, the curse that was placed against man. He took that curse, nailed it at the tree, that whosoever will believe in him will be saved, will be part of this blessing of salvation that is coming. So we have to cue in based on this name. We have to cue in based in following Yahshua in these latter days. So the message that Moses took to his people, that also was brought to Pharaoh, was message of deliverance, salvation. The same message is being preached to us today. Message of salvation, deliverance, from the Gentile world down to the land. To the land. I wonder how many of us are preparing for that. I wonder how many of us that are curious, serious, very mindful of that. Now, Israelites took off because after 10 plagues, by that power, in each of the plagues, Moses invoked the name of Yahweh. Moses invoked, if you go through the plagues, you see that Moses invoked the name of, when Pharaoh will beg Moses, go and tell Yahweh to forgive, that he will repent. Moses will go back in the name of Yahweh and pray to him. So the prayer was in the name of Yahweh. That's how Moses was reaching Yahweh, through his name. The power was removing the plagues, was removing the problems until the 10th one. Yahweh said, at this 10th one, Pharaoh will not listen. I'm going to hit him hard. So he dealt with Pharaoh, sons and daughters in Egypt, animals inclusive. All of them were destroyed. By the following morning, every house was crying, weeping. And Pharaoh said, Israel, run, go away from my land. I have seen enough, I've had enough. So Israel departed by the authority, by the power that is in that name. And Israel began the journey of wilderness experience. Wilderness experience. Now Israel entered that wilderness experience or encountered so many things. When they were hungry, Yahweh fed them. When they were thirsty, Yahweh gave them water. And the rock that followed them was Yahshua. This is now where Yahshua came in. And Yahshua now began to lead Israel into the land. Through the hands of Moses, Moses stopped in the wilderness. He couldn't enter because the people caused him to sin. So he was cut off. Joshua continued the journey, took them into the land. And Yahshua followed them into that land. Joshua chapter 5 said Yahshua entered into that land, helping Joshua to conquer the land. They were able to conquer as much as they could, but they didn't take all the whole of the land. But Israel began to sin and sin and sin. The Bible said, after the death of Joshua and all the leaders of Israel who saw the hand of Yahweh in the wilderness, in Egypt, in the wilderness, particularly in the wilderness, because many of those who came from Egypt, they died in the wilderness. So from Egypt, from the wilderness, all that witnessed the power of Yahweh, by the time they passed on, the seeds, the children, began to corrupt themselves. Began to corrupt themselves. And as they continued to do that, Yahweh continued to warn them. Yahweh raised prophets. Yahweh raised seers to warn them. Yahweh raised judges to warn them. That's why I see the book of Judges written. And each time a judge finished and passed on, before another one will come, Israel would have sinned and sinned and sinned. And they will cry to Yahweh. Yahweh will have mercy and bring another judge. Continued like that until Yahweh said, I've had enough. I will scatter you. And all of them were swept out. And this happened about 750 something BC, before Yahshua came. Before Yahshua came. So from the time Yahweh drove them out, about 700 and something BC, till today, Israel has spent almost 2,750 something years outside the land. Outside their own land. Now, what do we do in this Gentile world? We are now in the Gentile world. We are now in the second phase of our lives as Israelites, which Yahweh said you will not see. Said the Egyptians you see today, you will not see again. That means you are not going to go into foreign land again to suffer affliction, persecution, and trouble. You will not. All the cries that is beginning to unleash and sound in the air and everywhere is afflicted and troubled. All the lands, because the cry of the Israelites will touch and cut up with the world. There wouldn't have been any need for that if Israel had paid attention, if Israel had obeyed Yahweh. They didn't. So they had to go through this process again, the second time. So this is what is called the second Exodus. So Israel is awaiting second Exodus. So how do we go into the second Exodus? We go into the second Exodus by His name, through His name, through His empowerment. So I want to summarize what we have said here so far by letting us know that Yahweh is the powerhouse. We saw it through the deliverance of Israel. We saw how the Red Sea was broken asunder and Israel had to pass through. Expressway was made for them. We saw how out of rock, Exodus 17, 3-7, how he hit the rock itself was spoken to. The rock came out, made out water for them. We saw how Yahweh met his people, showcased his power in Exodus 19, 14-20, and Exodus 20, 1-17, where the covenant commandment was written. We saw the power that he exhibited there. The earth was shaken. The mountains were shaken. The heavens were shaken. There was smoke everywhere. There was thunder. There was lightning. The power in who? In that name. In that name. And his voice echoed. And what they were hearing was thunder. The people said, we can't stay. We can't stand this power. We can't stand this voice. It was too much. It was too much for Israel to bear. And Israel said, help us, Moses. Listen to him. You have been listening to him. Get all the messages. Bring them to us. We will obey. Surely, no matter, we have seen the power released by this name. We will obey. We will obey. Where is Israel obeying this name? Where is Israel obeying his word? Where is Israel obeying his voice? Where is Israel obeying his covenant commandments, which is agreement written in Exodus 19, where they say they will obey? And this commandment was released, Exodus 20, Deuteronomy 5. They said they will obey. Where is it? Where is the obedience? Today, every one of us is scrambling for our own way. We are thinking of how we will, let us dilute his word. Let us, put it in a way that it is tenable for us. His word is not loaded with burdens. It's not burdensome. It's not painful. It's not hard. It's not affliction of the Gentile word or Gentile commandments or Gentile laws. We love to obey Gentile laws that are headache. In this past 2-3 months, we were asked, stay in your home, don't go. We obeyed. All of us rushed into our homes. If Yahweh had asked us to do that, everybody would have pushed out on the road. Everybody. Who is cheating who? Who is cheating who? Just one day, keep it. Tell me how many of us is keeping that one day. Let's be honest to ourselves. Even if it is 1 hour remaining, they say, Yahweh understand. Within that 1 hour, keep the whole day, sunset to sunset. He said to Moses, my name is Yahweh, keep it. They say, it's Jehovah. It is Jesus. It is the Lord. It is God. He said, no, my name is not Jesus. My name is not God. My name is not... He said, no, you can't decide what your name is. We will call you what we like. It's our choice. Do you know we dictate for him? That's Israel. That's why Israel is not in their land. That's why they are not in that land. Bible says, Yahweh will not stomach it all. A time will come when he said, enough is enough, as he told them in Israel. And that time, all those that are broken off from the branch, or from the vine, from the olive tree, he will come and kill them. Let me not use a lighter word. He will come and crush them. That's what he said. Ezekiel chapter 20. Ezekiel chapter 20. He said he's coming back to Israel for the second Exodus. He's going to have mercy. He's going to bring them back again. And when you refer to what he said to Abraham, that makes sense. That your children will go into this foreign land. They are going to be enslaved. The Gentile world is going to enslave them. They are going to be there, afflicted. And after they have suffered 400 years, is going to bring them out. Now, what is this suffering and period of counting the Israelites suffering in Gentile world, in this second Egypt? Beginning the time about 1600 plus, when the Western world entered Africa, entered everywhere where Israelites are took them slave, made them slaves, you know, begin to rip them off. Since that time till today is about 400 years. Or 400 years. Squarely 400 years. So we have reached to the peak. 400 years has, in this second time, because Israel, their own 400 years in Egypt, when he got there, Yahweh said, I have heard their cry. So you can see that Israel is beginning to cry now. 400 years of slavery. When we will begin to count the time of affliction, the time of enslavement, the period of slave trade, this transatlantic slave trade period began about 400 years. Now the 400 years has hit to the point of Yahweh beginning to open his ears to listen to Israel. Now Israel is beginning to cry. We don't know whether it will add 1 year or 2 years or 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, as in the case of Israel in Egypt. The Bible said it added 30 years. We don't know how many, but that 400 years has reached, and Israel officially has started crying. Now, you are invited, I am invited, all of us are invited to do what? To pay attention to his word. So that we will not cry as much as the Israelites cried in Egypt. But the Bible has said that in this latter days, the cry is going to be far beyond what they cried in Egypt. It's going to be far more. By reason of number of them that is going to be killed. In Egypt, Yahweh didn't kill Israelites. Pharaohs were killing them. And Yahweh saw what they were going through. He came to deliver them. But in these latter days, Yahweh said, not only will the Gentiles, who are the slave masters, destroy, kill men, imprison, and do whatever they like, that he himself will literally kill 2/3 numbers of Israel. So what is your thought about that? How are you, considering, thinking over what he said concerning I and you? Why would that happen? Because Israel has been so hardened. Any day you hear his voice, say, do not harden your hearts. Hardening of heart is so terrible now than when they were in their first exile or Egypt. It is terrible now. It's horrible now. They don't want to hear. Call his name. They say, no. Do not do idol. No idol. The second commandment said, no idol whatsoever. How you know who is the true Yahweh, or those who worship the true Yahweh, is because those who worship him don't keep or do idol. They don't do any image. They don't create any image. They don't carve any image. They don't call any other name. That is, they call his name. They keep to his name. That's how you know him. And you know them. By their fruits. That is the fruit the Bible is talking about. By their fruits you know them. How do you know the true children of Yahweh? The true children of the creator of heaven and earth? By their obedience. Obeying the covenant commandments. You know them. That is their fruit. Now, if this is what we are asked to do, return to the commandments. That means if we do, all Israelites, our burden will be light. Our trouble will be light. Then Gentiles may try, but before they will kill all of us, we will go to the land. But because we will not hear, because we will not keep to his commandments, then trouble will ensue. Problem will ensue. And these people will get to us. Yahweh will allow it to happen. And he said, 2/3 will perish. And he will take the remnant through the wilderness, and there he will purge them. Remember in John chapter 15, he said he will prune those who are bearing fruit to bear more fruits. So that you bear greater fruits in the kingdom. So he will prune all those who are obedient, and he will take them into the land. So there is power, mighty power, that is availed to you. There is mighty power that is working in you. There is that mighty power that has been made available, follow that power. That is his name. Follow that authority. That is his name. Call upon his name in the day, in the night. Follow him. He will not disappoint you. Whatever you do in obedience, if you follow him in obedience, enemy will be far away from you. Enemy will attack, but they will cry. And they will plead to you to cry to Yahweh for them to be saved, for them to be rescued. They will literally see what they are doing to you and they will weep and they will say no. Most of the Gentile people, they are today telling their brother Gentile leaders and say, please be careful of what you do to these people. These people are children of Yahweh. Some of them are saying, look, Israelites are children of Yahweh. We have held them into bondage. We have taken them into slavery, and enough is enough. It's time we begin to treat them like human beings. Some of them are beginning to reason that way. And if you may not know, they'll be grafted in. Maybe before you know it, before their chapter is closed, Yahweh will bring them in and they will follow and move into the wilderness. But there is a thought I do have on that. Looking at the first experience, those that followed Israel when they were living from Egypt during the first Exodus, they were those Gentiles. They still corrupted Israel. They contributed the corruption of Israel. They contributed in making calf, which they produced in the wilderness. I said, this is your Yahweh, this is your Elohim. Bow down to him because he brought you out of Egypt. Calf, calf, which they are still calving today, which are still molding today, which are still engraving today. Stone, wood, they put it in the altar. They go there, they bow. They say, ah, you are my savior. That which they did in the wilderness, they are still doing today. And they say they are worshiping him. And at the end, by the time you finish the story with them, they say they will be going to heaven. They will be raptured. Let us raise the case here so far. We'll continue from here next week. We'll end it probably next week. But what you take on hand here is that following Revelation chapter 5, verse 11 and 12, up to verse 13, the lamb that was slain, Yahshua, who received the power from the Father, and he gave us the power. Next week we are going to hear about that. He gave us that power also. He has been given the riches, the wisdom, the strength, all the authority, and all the way without in this latter days to deliver us from our captivity. And the angels in heaven were celebrating him. They were celebrating him. Revelation chapter 4, verse 9 and 11, thou art worthy, Yahweh, to receive glory, honor, and power, for thou hast created all things for thy pleasure. Thou art worthy, Yahweh, to receive glory, honor, and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created. Brethren, you haven't seen power. In the name of Yahweh, that power is coming. Yahshua is coming massively with the power. And with that power, is going to deliver us. With that power, is going to conquer all the Gentile enemies of children of Yahweh. And he is going to bring them literally by his hand, take us into the wilderness. From the wilderness, he cleanse us and take us into the land. And there, something you never see, the marriage supper of the Lamb, which we discussed last week, will be celebrated. Everything that we need, we will have. All that we lacked, we will have. All that we missed, we will be restored to. Everything that he has given to us. The cry will stop. The tears will stop. Death will stop. Anguish will stop. We will inherit the new heaven and the new earth. That is it. And literally, you can enter heaven at that time. You can, enter heaven. Heaven will have not been entering. Man hasn't been there before. Yahshua said, no man has been there, no man has come down from there, except him who came from there and who ascended unto heaven. Let us rejoice, for there is wonders that is coming. There is wonderful things that we have not seen. So great a blessings are with us. So much honor is coming. So much glory, so much power, so much authority is coming. Before Yahshua even left here, next week we're going to see that he gave the disciples, he called them and he gave them power, he gave them authority. Over what? Over nature, over sickness, over diseases, over infirmities, over lack, over poverty. He gave them power over nature. In fact, he himself possessed power over nature. He walked on the waters. We saw that. We heard that. And he stopped the mouths of demons in their legions. He healed the sick. He raised the dead. Extraordinary power is returning. It's returning. Are we ready? Blessings and honor and glory and power and glory and power and glory and power. Blessings and honor and glory and power be unto our Yahweh. Our Father in heaven, we bless you. We thank you, you are awesome. We thank you, you are full of love. Your mercies endure forever. Your goodness endure forever. Your love for your children knows no end. We thank you for helping us today to look into the word of liberty, into the word of freedom, word of salvation, word of deliverance, word of restoration, word that only you had given to your obedient children. Obey and live. Obey and have life. He said, out of your word you have given to us, we will prolong our days. Out of your word we will have life. Yahshua is that word. Yahshua is that word. Yahshua is that truth. Yahshua is the salvation of his own brethren, the children of Israel, and all the grafted Gentile nations that are keen in. Father, we say thank you for everything. Help us, Father, to obey you. Help us, Father, to understand the power, the authority that you bestow upon us. Help us to understand particularly your name. For if we know your name, follow your name, worshiping your name, praising your name, honoring your name, obey your voice, keep your commandments, everything is settled, and follow you. You and you alone we see in Yahshua. For no man can come unto the Father except Yahshua draws him. It's Yahshua that the Father gave to, so that Yahshua will cleanse us, purify us. Through him we will see our Father in heaven. Father, help us. Father, equip us. Father, grant us all the wherewithal, so that we will continue 24 hours without turning to the left or to the right. So that when the trumpet will sound, the living and the dead in Yahshua will awake and follow you. Our prayer is, Father, count us worthy. As we hear you today, as we declare to follow you, as we declare to serve you, empower us. Grant us all the strength, all the grace to keep to your word, to your commandments, so that we bear fruit, so that we will not be cast away. Help us and help us to the end. We thank you, Father. In Yahshua's name we have prayed. Amen. Amen.
Keeping the Sabbath.